For the past few weeks, there is one thing Trigun fans could not keep quiet about. And that is the glaring omission of Milly Thompson from Trigun Stampede. Although I myself am a big fan of this character, and do miss her presence in this new series as well, I must say that the reactions online are getting more and more infuriating, as people seem to be overly obsessed with this particular character, without even remotely attempting to see the bigger picture. So in this video, I wanted to appeal to these distressed fans, and give you a different perspective to look at things, in regard to the current omission of Milly Thompson in Trigun Stampede. Trigun Stampede very clearly is retelling the story of Trigun in a way much different from either the old anime, or the Trigun and Trigun Maximum manga, with the latter serving as the source material for this reboot. One major difference is the profession of Meryl Streep. Unlike in the manga, where Meryl is becoming a journalist at the very end of the story, Trigun Stampede has established her being a journalist at the very beginning. A journalist fresh out of college, that is. Meaning she is an inexperienced and naive rookie looking for her big break. And at her side is her new mentor, the grizzled veteran, Roberto De Niro, who many fans unfairly have doomed from day one, for the simple fact that he is not Milly Thompson, though Roberto was never supposed to be a replacement, or let alone a male version, of Milly to begin with. People need to stop looking at Roberto as a replacement of Milly, but simply as Meryl's mentor, because in the Trigun manga, Meryl was the mentor, and Milly the rookie. But in Trigun Stampede, Meryl is the rookie, with Roberto serving as the mentor. The fact that in Trigun Stampede, Meryl Streep is one experienced and naive rookie, that the City of July is still intact, and Vash the Stampede only having a bounty of $6 million, instead of the infamous $60 billion dollars, quickly establishes that the story Trigun Stampede is telling starts out in an earlier time in the lives of the characters than the source material. It has shifted around timelines to tell the story in a different way. And this easily explains why Milly Thompson has yet to be seen in Trigun Stampede. In the old Trigun, Meryl used to be Milly's senpai. But with Meryl being a rookie herself, she has yet to grow into a position where she would be ready to be Milly's senpai. Although it is understandable that many miss Milly, Trigun Stampede at this point is not supposed to tell the story of Meryl and Milly, but the story of the up-and-coming, rookie Meryl, that is growing into the character we knew her to be, and to accomplish this character growth, the creators of Trigun Stampede established Roberto De Niro, a new character, as her mentor. A character that might be completely new to this franchise, but the idea of Meryl having a mentor is not new to Trigun. In flashbacks in Chapter 3 of Volume 4, and Chapter 1 of Volume 6 of Trigun Maximum, a nameless middle-aged man could be seen giving Meryl Streep her iconic Derringer pistol. Roberto De Niro is not a replacement for Milly Thompson, but rather a replacement of this particular nameless man that was only seen in a few flashbacks of the manga. And just like Meryl in the manga's present and this nameless man in the manga's past, Roberto can be seen wielding the iconic Derringer pistol in Trigun Stampede. A subtle foreshadowing of what very well could happen at a later point in the story of Trigun Stampede. Obviously, at this point, all we can do is speculate, because none of this has been confirmed, but just like this hasn't been confirmed, neither has been any kind of removal of Milly Thompson, meaning that the following scenario could very well happen. As the story progresses, the conflict between Vash and Knives escalates further and further to a point at which something could happen to Roberto. Either Knives or a member of the Gung Ho Guns such as Legato Bluesummers kills him, or worse, Knives triggering Vash to destroy the city of July ends up being the reason for Roberto's death, with him passing down the torch to Meryl, by giving her his Derringer pistol during his last breaths, concluding the first chapter of Meryl's story in Trigun Stampede. Since the city of July still exists in Trigun Stampede, it is very likely that the season finale will be the July incident, which will take place instead of the fifth moon incident we could see at the end of the first Trigun manga. And what followed the fifth moon incident was a time skip. A time skip that in Trigun Stampede could serve as the perfect introduction point for a second season. A second season that, just like chapters 1 and 2 of Trigun Maximum, could start off with Vash living incognito under the name Eric's, in a town together with a girl named Lena and her grandma Shale. A town that Wolfwood happens to enter, in which he finds and reunites with Vash, as they leave the town and Vash's alter ego Eric's behind them. And in Chapter 3 of Volume 1 of Trigun Maximum, we get reintroduced to Meryl Streep and Milly Thompson after the time skip, which in Trigun Stampede could serve as the perfect opportunity to reintroduce the now more experienced Meryl Streep, serving as the senpai, to her new kohai, Milly Thompson, looking to investigate the whereabouts of Vash the Stampede. Whether or not something like this will happen is yet to be seen. But instead of declaring the doomsday on this franchise, simply because one character has yet appeared, I would make the claim that this way of thinking is a much more rational approach to Trigun Stampede. A series that has too much potential to be cast off, just because of the disappointment stemming from a single character not having shown up yet. You as a fan can feel free to be disappointed, but this new series deserves a fair chance, and should not be reduced one a single character not being there yet. Especially when the creators of the show never outright proclaimed her removal. At least I never came across such a statement, so if anyone that saw it would care to share their source of information with me, feel free to do so, as I would highly appreciate to see any official information regarding this matter. Thus concluding this video, about the disappearance of Milly Thompson, the reasoning behind it, and her potential introduction to Trigun Stampede. Thanks for watching, yours truly, the Anibot.